So, welcome to day one of what 2026 strategy is going to look like. Welcome to the channel. I am really trying to figure out whether or not ChatGPT could actually be a real partner in the way that I schedule and try to figure out what 2026 needs to look like as a baseline. And I'm starting from the history of what it was in 2025 when everything felt very chaotic and sporadic in my business. And I really wasn't getting the returns and all the things that I thought I should get when I'm trying to get after these numbers and revenue goals and all of that. So ChatGPT and I are having a conversation. I can tell you it didn't start off really good this morning as I've been trying. So I decided, you know what, let's just go ahead and turn on the camera and just have that conversation. So what I did was I fed ChatGPT two reports. Right now, all revenue are either collected in PayPal or they're collected in Stripe. The PayPal is for those who want to use PayPal credit, someone who's on a subscription that we have for our membership. And usually the money that comes from there is just very minimal. But it was important for me to have a space to know exactly what money I collected each month as a baseline. So I fed it both reports for income for 2025. It started doing that thing that ChatGPT does by saying, oh, PayPal's the real revenue engine, when actually it was Stripe that's the revenue engine. So I had to tell it, no, actually, if you look at it again, and it's like, oh, you're right, which is kind of frustrating, right? Because I'm trying to figure out the pattern. So it did pull out the observation that our strongest months from 2025 were January, February, July, and August. And then also saw our weakest months of October, November, and December. I can go ahead and know off the rip the correlation for that was we didn't spend enough in ads, which is how I generate most of my income, by running ads for the offer that I have. So number one, off the bat, I knew that that was an issue. But what I did say is, look, it's not PayPal where we generated. What I want you to do is I want your role, and I'm telling ChatGPT this, your role is to pull the income from both reports and give me the real revenue collected each month. Great. So it says perfect. Resetting expectation. No opinions, no strategy, just the math. So currently right now, it gave me my numbers for the monthly revenue for 2026 or 2025. I'm going to actually ask it to total the revenue just so you and I have a baseline and we know, you guys know what it is. How much did I actually make? So the number's not surprising to me, but let's just look and see what it is. So we actually collect $431, 705, well, $431,705.89. I'm not sure. I had it at 388,000. I need to make sure that it's accounting for any kind of refunds and things. So let me actually look at the months, right? So January, of course, was our biggest month. No, July was our biggest month last year. I can tell you that's attributed to, we have a high ticket item where I take some folks on a retreat and we do some real business driving, but that was a $56,000 month. And then the month below that would have been in August. We did 44,000, but all the other months are pretty what and what. I just that's probably a little surprising. So my average months, if we were average all of the income, was about 36,300. Let me make sure that it's accounting for the refunds. Did you account for refunds? Can you see those from the reports? See if he knows the answer to that. The refunds are visible. So now I'm asking it to look at what the refunds. So we have the gross revenue, net revenue. Yes, I want him to recalculate. Well, just give me a report of the refunds process and what our net is. Let's do that. One thing about ChatGPT is I'm using it for data analysis. He's started, well, she, it, whatever you want to call it. I'm using this as a CMO, a CFO, a tax strategist, all kinds of things. And people say you can use it for that, but I think it's personal that I'm looking at my numbers from the standpoint of what my business actually did. And so while I also have a bookkeeper and I have a tax professional and I have money guys to help monitor this, I think that me knowing these numbers and asking the questions that I need to ask will help me understand how I can be better in my business. So let's see, the refunds by month. We don't have a problem with refunds. So our revenue after refunds is not super bad. So So let's do this. So it's saying net revenue for all of 2025, our earned revenue after refunds across both processors is $445,354.83. So let's make sure we ask a clarifying question. So give me total refund for each month and total it for the year. See if that can understand what I'm saying. Our total refunds was $9,516.97 the entire year, which is amazing. I thought it was more than that. I'm actually happy with that. Cool. That's great. And you also are realizing the actual cash in, not just, because what I really want to make sure that it's saying, and people might think this is a whole long way to go around making sure that we're asking, but you have to always check in on ChatGPT because it will do some numbers that are not, if you don't ask it the right way. And I just want to make sure, and it is net fund with processing fees taken out as well. Oh, excuse me. So it said we're looking at actual cash in hand, refunds removed, processing fees already netted out. There are those combined. That's real money that hit the account. Great. What's that number again? So it's saying it's $445,354.83. So I'm going to ask it why it first had that number of 431,000. Why then have a 431K number? What was that? I wanted to go back and tell me why it said that in the beginning. That was the gross collected revenue after refunds, but before the processing fees for both reports. Exactly. It reflected money customers paid, refunds were accounted for, but it was not fully reducing the cash in because, right, it was just looking at what customers paid us. So the correct number is, well, wouldn't that number be lower than if it was before you subtracted the processing fees? The 431K number was an incompleted blended total created by mixing Stripe net columns with PayPal gross columns, not consistently using net of fees fields across both reports. Basically, it was combining apples to oranges. It should not be used for anything going forward. That was an artifact. The 445,000 is using Stripe net amounts, already fee adjusted, PayPal net amounts, gross plus fee plus refunds accounted for, and refunds probably netted it. All right. So it now looked in cleanly what it looked like. What are the totals for PayPal and Stripe separated? I'm asking that because I want to know how much do we really need PayPal as a processor, or can that PayPal not be a part of our processing footprint, if you will? Maybe we should get away with that and just go with Stripe. I'm not really sure. So I was right. So we didn't really get any cash in PayPal. It was $8,669 net cash collected there, but $430,494 in Stripe. So again, it's now got a whole nother number, which is why you have to be careful. Now you are saying 430K, but you had 445K. What's the deal? We crossed three different concepts that created noise: gross customer payment, process reported net activity, true net cash after refunds and fees. This issue was definitely definition drift, not dishonesty or bad intent. How can I be sure you are processing the correct number for net income? Be my CFO and give me the totals that I need for Stripe, PayPal, gross, net, and refunds yearly. Let's look in terms of the transaction and see if we can payouts analyze. So I have another report here. I'm gonna grab it and export this one. So I have a balance summary. I'm actually gonna start over in a new chat. I want to know how much money I made in Stripe, giving you my report for transactions and my balance report for 2025 so we can have an accurate number of what money was actually collected from my customers. So we have the right number. For 2025 Stripe, we actually had $149,927.01 collected, $11,120.05 fees, The net is $338,806.96. It attempted to charge $444,207.46. That is a report that counts every charge event, even if it was refunded, and includes payments that never fully settled. So there's a drift there of almost $100,000. But I'm imagining those are recaptured by people actually recharging. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. So let me go ahead and let's look at the PayPal account for money collected and refunded. So I'll give it the PayPal account. So the gross money collected was $14,163. But that's all the completed credit transactions. We had refunds of $13.70 and PayPal fees of $10.12. So our net money before fees is $12,792. Then we had the fees paid, which is $11,779 net after fees. So the gross was $12,792.55. The fees were $1,012.85. So the total that we had there is total collected is $11,779.70. Those two numbers combined, so 338,806.96 plus 11,779.70 is a grand total of $350,586.66. That's our 2025 revenue realized net money. Now give me the number that is broken down monthly. What did we make monthly? Let's get that. And I'm sure it's the same months, right? August and July were the big months. Last was a bad quarter. Yep, our highest month was July. August was the second highest, but it was what and what. Processing fees are not super bad. All right, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and print out our monthly. All right, so we in 2025 collect $350,586.66. So now I want to actually look at what January did this month, see how we can go from there. Because the goal here is for me to make sure that I'm at least meeting the baseline here and understand what that growth needs to look like. Because we're going to layer this in report after report, but you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. And this is going to be the first time that I'm actually intentionally looking into my numbers, which I know sounds crazy, but you'll get to know me as we get through these videos and these dates that this is the second business that's been successful for me. Before this, I was doing multiple seven figures in my travel business, Women Travel Abroad. So as I'm looking through it through a new lens, I kind of fell off the track and just made money and just willy-nilly did because I just was in that space. And with a lot going on with a kid going off to college and my husband retiring and just buying assets and buying things that are supposed to add to our wealth, let stuff kind of slide. And so now we're going to be intentional this year to make sure that if we're really going to try to reach these revenue goals and we're trying to get after the date, which is August 11th of 2027, which is my ultimate goal in retirement, then I need to know what that needs to look like. So here's to those numbers. So the next number I'm going to go ahead and get after is recognizing how much we did January this year. I've had two launches in January as of February the 1st, and this is the second weekend or the day of the second launch. And so now that we're going into February, I'm going to realize and see what money was made in January, what money was actually collected in January, and what that actually will look like as we move forward. So that's where we're at right now. So let's go ahead and pull those numbers. So we're going to start in a new chat, because what I found is I try to keep it in the same chat, but if I have a different goal, chat gets a little confused. So I don't want it to kind of have that drift that it does. So what we're going to start with is our actual payouts and sales data from Spiffy, which is the way we process, a cart system that processes, and what actually Stripe had been, and what PayPal has been in. So if I go to PayPal, I'm gonna grab sales in our reports. We're gonna do January 31. Okay, so it has the amount of orders that we actually had. So I'm going to export it. And then if we go into Stripe, we'll go into transactions, we'll go into activity, export this, and then here is the PayPal. So let's go ahead and ask it this. Okay, now we have January 2026 and the money collected. Please look at Stripe first and Spiffy. I'll look at Spiffy first since it's the first line. So I'm asking it to take a look at the Spiffy first, then look at the Stripe, then look at PayPal. So here's the Spiffy report. Well, Spiffy is used for payment plans. What we actually collect and what will be different. So let's look at those numbers with the PayPal and Stripe report. Here is Stripe. That's not right. Can I pull the Stripe report? I thought I did. Let me get Stripe's report. Okay, there we go. So here's the Stripe report is PayPal. Wow. So I gotta verify these numbers are true. So we actually, in our Spiffy account, sold $76,237, which would be payment plans. We collected $41,109. That seems nuts, but if that's true, so I put $35,625.24. Look and see if that actually is what hit my account. In the January account, yep, we deposited $30,440.15. That is nuts. So here are the realities that I'm dealing with right now, that I'm literally bringing in $35,000 in the month, real cash. And I've got this idea that I'm doing very well, but it doesn't feel like I'm doing well. And I've got to figure out why that is. I don't know what's accounting for checking, the Chase checking, that other $279. I don't know if I add it up. 35,440.15 plus 279.98. That's less. Okay. If we're really being honest here, January of 2025, we did 43,917. This year, we did, 39,972, which is down 4,000. Very eye-opening for me right now because I feel like I'm behind, but there's just no way I should be behind collecting $40,000. My bank account says that I actually have collected 35,000 deposited into my account, and I have 3,500, almost 3,600 in the Stripe account to be moved over. I got to figure out how to manage this money. So tomorrow's video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the two launches side by side so I can kind of get on how we actually made the money we made and how we can try to keep it. Because ultimately that's the way you get to wealth, right?